Hello, my name is Ben, and welcome to the St. Mary's Youth Workshop. Thank you for attending our Growing Young Disciples workshop. We agreed on this theme as a follow-up from our previous year here. All of our members input their ideas initially through looking at 5 Bible verses which concern discipleship amongst young disciples. Our group completed too many flip charts for this 45-minute session, so here's a shorter condensed version of this. We will share our youth group's ideas with you today through a mixture of testimonies, interviews and questions involving young people between the age of 12 to 18. We will also involve you and your ideas as we go along. We hope that through our workshop you will discover that if they are well supported, young people not only have ideas but also wisdom. The young people are not the future of the church. They are a whole and important part of the family here and now. I'd like to introduce Fortune, who's going to lead our first part.
Testimony about becoming a young disciple by Ryan Morgan and Fortune Martins. Hi everyone, my name is Fortune Martins. I am 12 years old and I am here to read to you a testimony that was written by Ryan Morgan, but unfortunately is unable to make it today. Now I am going to read you Ryan's testimony about becoming a young disciple. I started coming to church services in January 2024. Before this, I had only been to a church a few times. This was mainly to attend a message church and events at Easter and Christmas time. In year 7 and year 8, I learned more about different religions and faiths during ethics. I was interested in other cultures and ways of life. I was pleased that I would be able to think about this more when my family decided to spend time with the community at St. Mary's when I was in year 9. As I was new to church, I wasn't sure about what to do and where I was going. But thankfully, there was plenty of support and everyone was welcoming. The weekly youth group was helpful for me because I was able to learn with my peers. The adult leaders guide us each week in Bible readings with reflections and discussions. This is a relaxed and informal way of learning and developing my knowledge about God. I was fortunate to attend Read Deep after only a few weeks of being at St. Mary's. I found this event inspiring. So many people of different ages and backgrounds coming together with their faith in common. This made me think that young people didn't have to be instructed by adults, but they have a voice and can be leaders of their own faiths and churches. In the summer, our youth group went away for the weekend to Idil. We did a lot of cool activities, such as abseiling, archery, and night nine. For me, this brought me closer to my fellow youth group members. I felt that my friendships developed, and I got to know the youth group leaders better. Now, in the weekly youth group sessions at church, I feel more comfortable opening up and sharing ideas with everyone. In the future, I hope to be able to attend youth-focused events and continue to be an active member at the St. Mary's Youth Group. That's the end of Ryan's testimony. I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and how St. Mary's has made a huge impact on my life. At St. Mary's has given me the confidence to believe that my voice matters as a young disciple and to never be afraid to speak up where and when needed. So young disciples, if you have an opinion but you are afraid to say something, just say it because your voice matters. Thanks for listening, everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you, Fortune, for sharing yourself and Ryan's testimonies. Now, we welcome Favor and Zidane, who, in the style of an interview and answer, some questions of how we would like to develop.
Hi everyone, my name is Favor and I'm 15 years old. And today I'm going to be interviewing Zidane about how he feels as a youth member in church.
Hi, I'm Zidane. I'm 13 years old and I am a young disciple at Healy Parish Church.
Zidane, how do you think youth can be involved in church service?
I think that youth can be involved in church services in a lot of ways. For example, setting up church services, serving the bread and wine during communion, welcoming people at the door, being part of the worship team, doing Bible readings, leading prayers, leading church services, sharing their testimonies, and even preaching. Basically, if you don't ask, you don't get. In your churches, you need to talk to the children and the young people to find out what they are willing to do. You might have somebody who is brilliant at playing piano or guitar or violin that really wants to be up playing with the worship team, but is too shy or worried to ask. You might have somebody who during prayers in the services is thinking of all the things that they would have said if they were up and doing it. Just because someone is young doesn't mean that they haven't got something to bring to the church.
What should church do to facilitate young disciples to come together with other young people across the diocese to get to know each other?
I think that churches should encourage young people to come together by setting up relaxed and fun social get-togethers, such as pizza night, movie night, games in the park, so the young people can come together, enjoy themselves, and get to know more about each other. This could then lead to bigger events like fun days or trips out, and hopefully will encourage friendship and discipleship.
Zidane, how would you like to be encouraged as a young leader in your church, Healy Parish?
I personally would like to be encouraged to help out more in the church. I would like to help set up for church services, support the younger children groups, and have the opportunity to talk and preach. Now I sometimes help out by welcoming people at the door, and during Cafe Church I sometimes do Bible readings. We are also going to be starting from next month having the young people plan, prepare and lead our all-age Cafe Church service, which I'm really excited about.
As a young disciple, do you think young members in church can be mentors to older members of the congregation?
I believe that younger people can mentor older members of the congregation because everyone can learn something new from anyone. Everybody's faith journey and relationship with God is unique and indivisible. Just because somebody is young doesn't mean they have a relationship with God. Just everyone's experiences and encounters should be shared with people of all ages, and we should be encouraged to do this.
Thank you all for listening to this interview, and thank you to Zidane for answering the questions.
Thank you, Zidane and Favor. We now have some questions for you. Why is it important to listen and understand your young people? And how do you do this? How do you help foster relationships between the youth and the wider church? And finally, how do you encourage the young people through their adolescence to gradually take on more responsibility? I'd like you to split up into groups of 3s to 5s and discuss this. We have till 12:30, after which I'm going to come up and ask for some responses. Thank you. We have 5 minutes for some answers. Does anyone have an answer to the first question, which is, why is it important to listen to and understand your young people, and how do you do that? Any takers?
I think we have to listen to young people because it's future of the country, and also they have to do things to, if they know their religion and they can go and disciple others, then others will encourage looking at young people, you know. So I think if you listen to them, they feel that they're important,
Yeah.
and that's important.
Yes, so by listening to others, you grow respect for the people who's listening to. I see someone shaking their head. Is that not true? If you listen to someone who you consider to be in a position of authority and they're listening to you, you grow respect for them, as it has in my youth group towards my youth leaders. I've got my answer here, but does anyone else have answers for the first one and want to share? You don't need to stand up.
That was loud. I think we have to stop thinking of it as young people and old people, that's us, isn't it? And just see people, because I think they're just as much of our church as anybody else. So why shouldn't they have a say? Why shouldn't we listen to their opinions? And I think often when we plan things that we think the young people are going to love this, then that's our opinion of what they're going to like. And I think often we can go, oh yeah, they're really going to love Nerf Wars or this, that, and the other. And actually, let's ask them and let's include them and let's stop seeing it as them and us and just see it as we're the church together, and they should definitely be a part of moving forward.
Yes. So young people my age and younger all have their sense of ideas and a sense of purpose and a sense of themselves. It's a sense of who they are in the world. And so asking them for ideas and growth on whether it's an event that you're planning for young people. If you have a young person's opinion, it's more likely to suit young people because they're in a different time, a different age. They have different life experiences. Like, my answer to this is, we are allowed to have and express our voice and opinions, which allows us to, like, develop what events we like, what type of music we like to listen to. And I've also written, observing other members of the church making an effort to understand and acting upon what they've said, which still further contributes to this. Because if people listen to them and act on them, the respect I've grown for them and the respect they give to me, I'd give back. Now, on to question 2. How do you help foster relationships between the youth and the wider church? Does anyone want to answer? Bishop Sophie?
I just wanted to say that I think that's what you guys have done. So last year you did a fantastic workshop on being on difference, and you were in a small room at the top up there, which was fit to burst. This year you're in the auditorium, and I think next year you could run Development Day. So I just wanted to say huge hats off to you. You've all got loads of things going on in your lives. You're all at key stages of education, many other concerns, but you are modelling how to do this relationship with the wider church here in the Diocese of Sheffield. So I just wanted to say whoop and thank you.
As much as I'd like to run next year's, I won't be here. I'll be at uni. Hopefully. I saw a hand up over there if they still want to answer. If you don't want to, it's fine.
I think the young, I was young, I am young, and I will be young forever. So the first thing, I'm totally agree with you, there is no age, all right? Relationship between young and the church, I can give you example, because we are working with the new Dawn Urdu congregation, and within 6 months, we done quiz church, and we encourage our young people to lead the service. She's doing it, Samaya, well done, thank you. And within 6 months, one of our young man, he's a man now, isn't it? I think he'll be shy. He's gone to the church ministry training. So this is, don't wait for the time. Oh, let them grow. They are new to the church. No, take the opportunity. This is the day. Don't wait until tomorrow. And this is our ministry. We only can look after children until they are in A levels. By the time they are gone into uni, they're gone. So grab them when they are there. Because I know when we were growing, we always say, oh, when these uncles and aunties go and leave the church, then we can do something in the church. So that's built in me now. No, when the children are there, so there is no gap. If the children are in your church, let them come and do that. They can lead the prayer, they can read the Bible, they can do the sermon. If as a child, they have to sit and listen the sermon to the adults, so why can't we can sit and listen? And whoever arranging the music, make sure it is for both congregation, for the young and adult. So that's to say, thank you.
I think that grows on the point I said at the beginning, which is we hope that you see that the young people aren't just the church of tomorrow, that they're a whole and important part of the family we have today. Encouraging people to participate and be engaged and be part of the church now. Not only is it a great way to introduce people to Christianity and help them grow their own ideas, it also helps foster relationships between people, whether that's someone coming up to compliment them and then getting further on into discussing their ideas. Just speaking to someone can help foster that bond of brotherhood or sisterhood. Anyone else?
I have noticed, and you may be aware, that the leadership of the diocesan youth recognise the importance of youth breaking bread together, ideally topped with tomato and cheese.
Oh, I love bread topped with tomato and cheese. When we did that at St. Mary's a few years ago, I really enjoyed that evening. Anyone else have a few ideas that they want to share?
Well, I think now more than ever, there's more kind of national events of loads of youth groups coming together and worshipping together. So I think encouraging community, not just in a local, but in a wider sense, is that's a good way to help foster relationships and networking and getting connections there.
Thank you. Yeah, we went to Breathe Deep earlier this year, which is the Diocese of Sheffield's youth meeting at the local cathedral in the centre of Sheffield, which is a great way to not only discuss other people's points of view between people your own age, but it's also a time to listen and encourage each other. Anyone else, or should I share my opinions? My opinion is to provide opportunities for the young people and the members of the church to interact, like shared lunches, family gatherings, including them in discussions in the church, interviews between people at the front of church, and food. So even if just getting to know each other is from someone sitting down in the congregation and two people interviewing each other, you can gain an understanding and feel more familiar with them without ever speaking to them. I've learned about a few people, not here, but in St. Mary's, through this idea of talking with people and experiencing them. Anyway, on to question 3. How do you encourage the young people through their adolescence to gradually take on more responsibility? Any takers?
Lots of ways how, but what we were saying was we don't want to wait until it's adolescence. You know, the younger the better. But also, why gradually? You know, just if you see something in a young person, just enable them to just provide as many opportunities as you can for everyone of all ages to step into roles and responsibilities and opportunities.
Yeah. So an idea of young disciples is currently what we're on is young disciples which are young. There's another way I could interpret it, young disciples as in people who are new to the Christian faith and developing as an adult and developing even younger than 12, who's the youngest here today. We have people probably about 7 doing Bible readings and taking the responsibility to just read a section of the Bible, no matter how right or wrong they read it, whether they need help in speaking, whether they need some support with a parent up there to comfort them and to help them with some words they don't know how to pronounce. Anyone else?
Like you said, I think we also need to get rid of the norm of there's one way to do something. There's not one way to worship. There's not one way to pray. We've got to encourage however way you do it. It's amazing, and have that trust in the young person because they need that confidence. They need that someone cheering in the corner, like, you can do it in your way. And I think it's just amazing to see someone embrace faith and do it in their way. And we just have to be there to be their little beacon of light and shine them on.
That was the last question, but I'm going to still reply to it and give my opinions. So, yes, I've completely forgot what I was going to say, but it just reminds me of what my physics teacher has said. Fail here, fail now, because this is a time where you have a safety net to fall back on and to grow. Don't fail in the exam, fail while you're still learning it. Anyway, my opinions. Asking them to do simple things like readings at the beginning to grow their confidence, offering progressively more opportunities and having role models between the older youth and the younger youth. Everyone is different. So people might want to do different things and people just might not want to participate. That's totally fine. I'm doing this of my own free will. I know some people who are here, my younger brother, who won't want to do this type of stuff the majority of the time. Anyway, now we have the Bible reading by Rugi and Diane.
First Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 to 16. If you point these things out to the brothers and sisters, you'll be a good minister of Christ Jesus, nourished on the truths of the faith and of the good teaching that you have followed. Have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourself to be godly. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. This is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance.
That is why we labor and strive, because we have put our hope in the living God, who is the Savior of all people, and especially of those who believe.
Command and teach these things. Do not let anyone look you down because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in unity, and in purity. Until I come, devote yourself to the public reading of Scripture, to preaching and to teaching. Do not neglect your gift, which was given you through prophecies when your body of the elders laid their hands on you. Be diligent in these matters. Give yourself wholly to them, so that everyone may see your progress. Watch your life and doctrine closely. Persevere in them, because if you do, you'll be saved, both yourself and your hearers.
Thank you, Rugi and Diane. Now we have Amy, who's going to do our Bible reflection.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Ami, and I'm 17 years old. I also wanted to just say thank you, because I know there's not a lot of people inside in this space, but you guys are very engaging in the Q&A. So, thank you. Just give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. So, today, obviously, we've been talking about developing young disciples and about how we can build up our youth within our churches to step into leading roles that many of you sat in this room may have right now. So firstly, I wanted to break up the key word that is obviously in our theme today, which is discipleship. Now, there are many connotations and words that we can use to describe disciples. But some examples of these words may be someone who's a learner, someone who's a leader, as well as a teacher, a follower of Jesus, someone who's part of a wider community, part of a wider family, and someone who has allowed themselves to be given to Christ, wholeheartedly chosen that is what they want to do in their life. So, as I said, there are many words and descriptions that we can use to describe someone who is a disciple. But right now, I want to focus on a key aspect, which is the role of being a teacher. And of course, telling someone to give themselves to Christ isn't something that can happen overnight. It's not something that you can enforce within someone, nor is it someone that you can just tell someone, go be a Christian, do this, where for them, that may not be something that they want to do. It may not be something that comes easy and naturally to them. Some people have grown up in backgrounds of faith, backgrounds of different religions, and just saying, oh, take on this role, take on this new faith, isn't something that they will acquire easily. But that is where, as disciples, we have to lend that helping hand to one another. We have to be there to support each other and to mentor and to guide one another. And not push or force, as I said, don't force this faith or this religion onto someone if they're not ready to take that just yet. And they have to understand what this faith is about. They have to be educated on what this faith is about, taught what this faith is about, because if they don't understand, they won't be able to follow this wholeheartedly. And they want to be able to follow that Christian life and learn from one another that this is the right decision that they are making for themselves. Because ultimately, we're talking a lot about developing young disciples and how we want to be leaders, not just within church, but leaders within our own lives, to take the confidence and the things that we have learned within the diocese, in our outside lives and in the outside world. And we talk a lot about how we're making decisions and how you guys are making decisions and choices that affect the future. And ultimately, whether we or whether you guys sat here understand that or not, those choices will affect us because we are the future generation. That is something that's unavoidable to us. But we won't know and we won't understand how your choices impact or affect our lives if we're not told initially in the first place what those decisions and those choices are. And so we have to be told, we have to be known and let known. And I understand that maybe it's instincts that we want to be kept away, or how maybe our parents want to shelter us away from certain things that they think may hurt us and harm us in the world, because that's natural. It's part of instincts. But as I said, we have to know, we have to be told, we have to find out one way or another, whether it's now, where we're young. I'm 17, so obviously I'll be going to university, so I'm not that young. But I know some people in our youth groups out here are obviously 12 and 13, so telling them now, allowing them to understand more about what they may acquire when they're my age, when they're your age, gives them that good understanding about what this Christian life means for them, starting at this age, or starting at any age really, and developing that as you move forward. And I understand that it's important for us to go out into the world, to try and learn new things for ourselves. Because don't get me wrong, as a teenager, I do enjoy my free time. Like family, kind of annoying, but, but I do enjoy my free time. I do enjoy my sound time. But I'm also aware that without teachers, without my mother, for example, telling me certain things about my life, there's certain things I just wouldn't know. There's certain things I wouldn't understand. And that, therefore, I know that even if it's seen as nagging sometimes, even if it's seen as annoying at times, I know that she's doing it with her best interest at heart, so that I can become the best person, the best version of myself that I know that she wants me to become and that I want to become too. And I understand that if I don't learn these things now, if I don't understand these things now in my life, I may learn these things later at a period in my life where I really needed a certain piece of information. And because I don't have it at that certain time, it may be hard for me to tackle a challenge, to overcome a milestone that I need to overcome. And that's why I think it's important for us to start being taught those things now, how, as disciples, one of our roles is to teach one another, and how we can be taught by some of the people who have those higher roles within the church, so we can learn more about the right decisions, or the decisions, because the decisions that you make, for us, we may not think are the right decisions. We may think, for example, voting. People, you may be told to vote for Labour Party and may go Green. I don't know any other parties, I can't lie. You may have your own beliefs, even though you're told, oh, vote for this party, vote for that party. And you may think, oh, really, that's not really what I believe. But just being told that and being able to learn that, know that you have that choice to think, oh, even if my family, even if my close friends think one thing, I can think another thing, and that is okay, that is acceptable. And I understand that with teenagers, we think we're too cool for school, we think that we're all that. We are kind of all that, I can't lie. But what I think is important is that I understand that it's sometimes hard to teach us, because we think that, we know more sometimes, we think that we're better, and I understand that it's hard. But I also think that without trying, without actually starting, we may never know if we could have been taught. We may never know if we could learn, if we truly could develop what it means to be a disciple from you guys. So that's why I think it's better to take the risk, better to try, because realistically, we don't really have anything or much to lose. So it's better to start and actually make that difference. And I also want to point out that I'm not saying that the best time to learn something new is when you are younger, because we can always, as I'll point this out later, we can always learn things when we are older. We're always learning things every day outside all the time. And as disciples, we have to be willing to learn things that are new. We have to be willing to take on new challenges. And we have to be willing to expand our knowledge about the world that's around us. So I also want to talk about a second role of discipleship, which is about being a learner. Because as well as being a teacher and being able to educate someone else, we can also learn things about others. We can also learn from each other how we can grow in faith. And we've talked a lot, I know I've talked a bit about young disciples and how we can learn from you guys, but also how do you think you guys can learn from us? How do you think that you guys can take some of the things that we have, some of the ideas that we have in our minds? Because it's not just a one-way system where we learn from you and we just take that out. You guys could also learn from us and take the things that you guys, that we have, to the wider world as well. There's no age limit, there's no points. Jesus never said, oh, there's a point where we stop learning, because we're always learning, we're always growing, that's part of life. We're always learning things, we're always trying new things, and that's just how our minds grow, that's how our brains develop. And that's why I chose a specific Bible reading, because it doesn't just focus on specifically young disciples. It's building on the fact that we, as disciples sat in this room, can learn one another, and we can also teach each other. We can empower one another and be there for each other. And I also want to talk that I'm not trying to say anybody, is old in this room, or anybody, not trying to call anybody out. But what I'm trying to say, is that, as I said, as learners, there is no age limit. There is no time where we should stop learning something new or stop trying to learn something new, because as disciples, we should continue learning. And it also mentioned in verse 12 of that Bible verse how we shouldn't be overlooked because of our youth. And you can take that in one of two ways. Perhaps the younger generation, we shouldn't be overlooked because of our carefree nature, because of the way that we can educate and be that inspiration and empowering message, empowering guidance to you sat in this room. But also, it could be a message to more of the older generation to not ignore their youth, to not ignore the youth that they once had and the youth that they may still have. And don't allow yourself to not express that youth, even if some people may call you a child or say that you're acting immature, because ultimately everybody, everyone likes Disneyland Paris, people still go, at an old age. So, allow yourself to be young, because that young and carefree nature, that young mind and mentality that you once had when you were younger, you can still have that. You still have that. It's still part of you. God gave you that for a reason, so use that. Don't be ashamed. Don't put it away to a side, but use it, utilize it, use it to help you learn about the emerging and changing world around you, and use it to help develop you so that you too can develop the mind of a young disciple. Regardless if you are old or young, you can still develop that mentality and still use that to educate and also learn as you go throughout life. And I also wanted to just point out what the lady said at the back over there. She's not looking right now. But what she said about how we shouldn't be young versus old. Like, we should all be one person. We're not separate. And that we should just look at ourselves as people. And I think that's just a good way for me to end and think we shouldn't think of ourselves as younger generation versus older generation. We can adapt and learn new things and new ways from each other, and we should just see ourselves as one together and work with one another to develop ourselves, not just in our discipleship, not just in our walks of faith, but also in our walks of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for that insightful Bible reading. It is now 1, although we still did have questions and answers. You can still come and find us during lunch because we have overrun. So it's time for lunch. If you would like to go get some, please do. If you have any questions for any of us, please just come and ask. We aren't people you can't talk to. Thank you for choosing to come to our workshop, and have a nice rest of your day.